Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this regularly scheduled September 9th Commission meeting to order. Before I ask for an approval of the agenda, I want to make a comment about our rules of procedure and decorum that we expect to happen in here. So I'm going to address my comments first to the commission and then to the public. So commissioners, when we invite the public to come up, we ask them to make their comments through the mayor. So if they really have a criticism of any commissioner indirectly or the mayor directly, they look at me when they make that comment. So I think it's only fair if we do the same thing. You guys did not give up your free speech rights to speak when you became elected, but if there's a comment that you want to make that has to do with a individual or a group of individuals, look at me when you make that comment. You can still make the comment, but look at me when you do that. That way we at least have the same level of expectation up here as we have at the public. To the public, I would say that the commission does not give up their right of free speech when they become elected. So if you come up here and you come to the meetings and a commissioner has something to say, you do not have the right to shout over the commissioner and shout the commissioner down. The commissioner has the opportunity to make his public statement. You have the same opportunity during public comment, and the commission's not going to shout you down either, right? You get to say what you want to say. Commission gets to say what the commission wants to say. I would caution everybody that if you stand at the dais and you say something that you cannot demonstrate that there's any evidence that that's truth, now you're on dangerous water, right, of slander, libel. So let's all be careful about only saying truthful, factual things, especially if we're going to make extreme accusations towards people. So let's try to disagree politely and with decorum when we disagree. And let's keep it on to the disagreements. And we will listen to the public during public comments. We'll listen to them. And we ask that the public listen to the commissioners during commissioner comment. And nobody try to shout down over anybody else. I think that covers it for decorum. I have one change to the agenda. I'm going to pull item number 22. That's preliminary plat for Countryway South Phase 2. Please take that one off of the agenda. That's my only amendment. And with that, I would ask for an approval of the agenda as amended. I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Maison. Comments or questions on the motion floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? This is to amend, to approve the agenda as amended. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. I will note the absence of Commissioner Farnsworth and our city attorney will be here directly. With that, we'd like to invite Reverend Joy Glanzer to give a nice invocation. If you would, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for being in our presence tonight. We look to you for guidance and strength. And we ask for your blessing over the sick, and we ask for your blessing over the healing. Please look over the families of Crawford and Stone in their time of need, and all those other families in Newberry with needs unspoken. We're grateful for this awesome city. We are blessed and grateful to be here. And as we work through the business of the city tonight, we hope to do what is pleasing to you and worthy of our citizens. We ask all of this in thy precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Glanzer. Welcome, Mr. Walker. All right, that's going to move us to our first presentation tonight, which is to introduce Joe. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm excited to report that we are back to full capacity, at least with our senior staff, with the hiring of a new facilities and capital projects director. I'd like to introduce the commission to Joe Lovelady. Make sure I get your name right there, Joe.
Welcome.
Joe has been involved in construction for, I think you told me, about 43 minutes or 43 weeks. So he's done more construction management that Jamie and I put together, I think. He's been involved with it his entire career. The last 25 years in the public sector with Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Spent a lot of time on those types of projects, so very familiar with government operations, although he's never been employed by city government. But he was on a trip to Florida and found an anchor, and she's sitting right next to him, and realized that he needed to find employment closer to the anchor. So we're going to be the benefactors of that. So I'd like to introduce Joe to the commission.
Joe, come on down. There's always applause at the beginning. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Commission, I am thrilled to death to be here. This is, I believe, one of the best fits for my background and career that I have found in a little over almost 40 years of being in construction in one capacity or the other. I hope to do the city proud. I've been here now, this is the start of my third week, and the staff that I have on board, I couldn't be more impressed with. Mr. Young has been very, very gracious and helping me assimilate and come on board and learn the systems. Mr. Jones has done the very same. I couldn't ask for a more welcoming group of staff and colleagues to join. And
We love to hear that. So,
Yeah.
and I can say for some coincidental reason, I've sat in a couple of meetings with Joe already, and the level of his questions and insight just been a pleasure. So I think you're going to be a great addition to the team, very valuable. Does the commission have any questions?
thank you very much.
We appreciate it, and as a special treat for your welcome at night, you don't have to stay till the end. we won't think about it unless you have an item on the agenda, but other than that, at least let the wife go on home, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm very proud to be here, and I will do my absolute best to represent the city of Newberry,
We love it.
as y'all would want me to.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome to Newberry.
Thank
you,
y'all
sir.
very much.
Have a great night. All right, I actually have a little bit of a surprise in between the first and the second item here. And Mike, are you going to take the lead on this, or is that Dallas? Stacy's going to take the lead. Stacy, come on down and take the lead on. I like this. This is a new kind of thing we're doing here. I love it.
How'd you like my deer in the headlights?
Yeah, it was perfect. We knew
okay.
we'd eventually get to who was taking the lead on this. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I want to bring Uma up here. So maybe if you came in our
That's a deer in the
office-
headlight
there
look
you
right
go.
there. That's a deer in the headlight look.
Exactly. So last week, if you came in our office, she was sadly missed. She was down in Tampa at the Florida American Planning Association conference. Not only did she go as an attendee, she went as somebody that held one of the leadership classes that's down there, as well as one of the session leaders. And guess what they talked about? The wonderful city of Newberry.
I love it.
So,
That's right.
I would
Talk
love-
of the whole state.
That's right, to the whole state and all the planners and everybody. So, Uma, I'd like to give you the leadership coin for going down there and representing us so well. Yes. And we're very glad that she came back, because I was really worried, because there's so many good things that go on down there, but she came back, and we're, hitting the ground running now that she's got all the good information from down there.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Uma, for representing us so well. And thank you, Ms. Stacy, because I think we've kind of stolen this from the military about giving out a core value and guiding principles challenge coin. And I think it's a great way to recognize people that put in a little bit of extra effort. So well done. Thank you for the policy, and thank you for being the first one to earn one that I know about anyway.
Yes, thank you.
Good job.
I'm just very surprised, and very lot of thank you to all of you. Thank you for the amazing leaders here. I just did my job, and it was best. It was very good there. The leadership meeting was very good. We did cultivating leadership among planners and how to go ahead with that. And the another one was with the students who presented here the redevelopment project. So we presented in this seminar, and everybody took it very nicely, like how small town can do the redevelopment and can use the resource of universities. So yes, I can be the anchor between university and City of Newberry, and we can move that forward with that. And thank you again for this wonderful coin. Thank you
Love
so much.
Congratulations. Well done. Thank you, ma'am. All right. All right, that'll get us back on track. So, Mr. Jones, will you come down and talk about the city roadway inventory? Now, for the folks at home, Commission has asked for this. They are considering throwing around the idea of putting a referendum out to the community and I can't remember what it's called, but I'm sure you will tell us, but it's the ability to fund a lot of roadway projects all at one time. The first step in that is to know what are the roadway projects, and the actual first step is somebody to help Jamie figure out how to work that clicker. There, he's got it down now.
I think I got it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, and just for the commission and the public, this is 20,000 foot level, broad strokes. We're not getting into the weeds tonight. We just want to know where our roads are that need some help and kind of what we're looking at in terms of price tag roundabout.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As you stated, the commission requested that we bring this back before you and give you an update of where we are with the roadway process. We undertook this several years ago, about 5 now, and went through and inventoried all the roads we had, assessed the condition, and basically gave them a grading scale. And you hadn't seen this in a while, so we wanted to get it back in front of you. So as part of the inventory process, we broke the city down into 4 core areas with 26 and 2741, breaking up area 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as part of that process, we, gave the roads a classification of a Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. Class 3, the road is in good shape, needs no improvement at this time. Class 2, the road is serviceable but does need some attention in the next 10 years. And Class 1 is basically, it's in substandard condition. It either needs to be paved or has been paved and needs to be overlaid or addressed. As part of that, we've expanded that to segregate the roads out as to which ones are in the CRA, which ones are not. That will give the Commission an idea of which projects may be eligible for CRA funding for improvements. We also, at the Commission's behest, did a sidewalk inventory. And we went through every road in town, identified if it had sidewalks at all, if they were on one side, if they were on both sides, and identified how far away they were from schools, whether they were the 1 mile, 2 mile. As you remember, that issue came up when there was some discussion about the courtesy buses. So we have done that and updated that. You have that in your packet of backup material. As of right now, you have 48,000, a little better than 48,000 feet of unpaved road that could be paved or chip sealed that's classified as a Class 1. But I did want to remind the Commission, these are some examples of the roadway projects that are currently programmed in your 5-year CIP. All the highlighted areas there are existing roadway projects that we had identified and prioritized over the next 5 years. The slide you see there, those red road segments are some that we identified and discussed with the Commission a few years ago. Those are your unpaved roads, short segments that are in your downtown urban core. We had brought that to you for consideration. Some of those roads potentially would be eligible for some grant funding based on whether or not they're in low to moderate income areas. And my apologies, we should have actually removed this slide because as part of the reconfiguration of the twin pairs, the majority of this road segment is taken over by the DOT road project. And that's where the twin pairs will start to reconverge ultimately to lead to a roundabout at 337. So the majority of this road segment would be encompassed in a stormwater retention basin as part of the DOT construction. This is west of there. It's a short unpaved segment that we had considered paving as part of improvements to Northwest 266 when we resurface it south of 3rd Avenue. This segment as well. Some short segments that ultimately lead to the MLK Center. I believe the city had attempted to get some grant funding for that about 2 years ago, was unsuccessful. There is some utility improvements, though, that would need to be teamed with this project if the Commission considered paving or chip sealing these road segments. So some more of that same area. So this is Southwest 30th Avenue, east of 2741, back to 202. We've discussed that quite a bit with the commission. We're currently still in the process of trying to complete the landowner survey. We've had, difficulty getting some of the property owners to respond. Just as an update to that, out of 24 property owners, 13 have responded. There's still 11 outstanding. We should have some more of those this week. We personally made appointments and went and seen those property owners.
What about the chip seal and that, Danny? I know you were discussing.
When we get a little further in, I've got some comparison.
Okay.
So the red segments you see there are the portions of Holder grade that's unpaved that actually belong to the city. The green segments are segments that are still owned by the county, and the initial segment, when you come off of the pavement on Northwest 266, that belongs to the county as well. That segment there is the first portion of Watermelon Pond. We own the first portion that was conveyed to us. The last mile or so is still under county ownership. So speaking to the question of paving versus chip sealing, I provided some information related to that. Currently, we're for estimating purposes using an average of $375 per linear foot for paving. Naturally, depending on the road segment and conditions, it could be lower or it could be additional cost per linear foot above that. That equates to about $1.98 million per mile. It's a structural treatment of the road. It's a 30-year solution with proper maintenance. Accepts higher level of traffic. Usually have your land rights secured before you make those kind of improvements, and you have to have a stormwater solution. Chip sealing right now, I've got some current contracted price for double chip seal. It's only $15.63 per linear foot. There's your cost per mile, a little better than $82,000. It is a surface treatment, 10-year solution, depending on the base material, the traffic and stormwater. It accepts lower level of traffic. Commercial traffic will shorten that lifespan. And you have to have either the land rights or established a maintenance map on that area to move forward with that. The stormwater could be potentially addressed under what the Water Management District calls the Dusty Road exemption process.
Before you move on from there, Jamie, so in my mind, the chip seal versus pave is all about the trip count. And I've never been able to get quite clear on what is the number of trips before you'd say chip sealing is not a good idea. How do you gauge that? Because we've got chip seal roads like 15th that are now in terrible shape. And we got chip seal road like 266, which is in pretty good shape, and it's the number of trips, right?
Well, and it's actually a little beyond just the number of trips, Mr. Mayor. So it's not only the amount of trips, but the type trips. So one, I think the commission's heard me say before that, depending on the stormwater situation, the chip seal is subject to premature failure if you cannot get the water off the roadway. And it does not stand up well to heavy truck traffic, agricultural truck traffic. So you could have a road with more trips that is residential passenger type vehicles that could actually last longer than one with a shorter count of trips that has some tobacco buses, watermelon buses, log trucks, hay trucks and whatnot, watermelon trucks going up and down it. So you are right. It's based on the trips, but there's no set number that determines. You have to look at each road individually and the properties and the type uses on that road and the type agricultural or commercial traffic you would have.
And chip sealing technology today, does that layer of chip seal become a layer if you decide to pave it later on? Can you let the chip seal get so bad that you got to rip it all up and start over again? How's that decision?
It's better to reclaim it or mix it. I spoke with the chip seal contractor. I actually took him down some roads that, we potentially would look at for chip seal. He does not recommend paving over it. He doesn't think you have to reclaim it, but he thinks it should be at least mixed into your base, and then you pave over that.
Okay. Any other questions on, because I know we've been asking a lot about chip sealing versus paving, so, all right. Go ahead.
So there's been some discussion about the dusty road exemption. There's a couple nuances to that. You do have to identify that you have some form of stormwater management in the process. Do you have to do a full-blown stormwater report and demonstrate that you're capturing all the stormwater? No, you don't. But you do have to demonstrate that you've incorporated some kind of way to address stormwater in your design. And there's also an assumption that you either have land rights to it or you have to file a maintenance map. So if you don't have a dedicated right-of-way, you have to establish a maintenance map and a maintenance claim on what you've been maintaining. And it had to be in continuous maintenance for X amount of years. Those are some of the highlighted sections there. They do encourage roadside swales or some other effective means of stormwater treatment, and they would like for you to file what they call a notice of intent and to use the exemption, and then they'll notify you, yes, this project qualifies for the exemption, no, it does not. So for the commission's edification, this is a current Sumter County contract. They're doing some chip sealing in Gilchrist County. They're doing some micro blading work for Alachua County. But this is some pricing that the commission could entertain if we do look at chip sealing some road segments, and we want to include that information. If you notice highlighted there, he has, and this is directly from the contractor, he speaks to the fact that, you know, certain things can shorten the life cycle of a chip seal road. What we would like to do, rather than go into specific road segments tonight, Dallas, who is much more adept at it than me, has identified a process, sorted the spreadsheet. We'd like to have some more time with the commission, go through and look at the unpaved sections one by one, see if it, you know, makes sense to chip seal it or if it potentially should be paved. And he has the ability to plug those in, and we could do that more in a workshop fashion, and that would give you the ultimate number if you were interested in looking at some general obligation bonds to do one unified project.
So in this spreadsheet, Jamie, what you're saying is the commission could say 3 is a good road, 1 is a bad road. They could say, we want to take care of all the level 1 roads, and you can plug that in, spit it back out. He's not in here. Spit back out a number. You could say some mix in between, and we could, in real time, kind of see.
Yeah, we've got it where Dallas can sort it, and he can tell you, you know, if you decide A, B, C, D, or E, and we can tell you what the value and cost of that would be all the way across our inventory.
Okay. I think it would be good for, especially those who've been really on top of this, maybe do some one-on-one meetings, and then let's have a workshop with the community as we build towards making this decision. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
Any questions of Jamie right now? All right, Jamie, thank you so much. All right, let's do that. Brings us to public announcements. The commission likes to hear from you frequently and often. They put aside this time in the meeting for 2-minute announcements. If you want to talk something that's a little more controversial, you need a little bit more time, there's another public comment section at the end of the night where you have 5 minutes to do so. So if you got a lost dog, lost cat, garage sale coming up, now's the time to go ahead and hop up. You want to tell us about a festival coming? Any of that? Seeing none, we're going to move right along to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Coleman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, that's going to take us into the main event for tonight, which is our budget, which is mainly dictated by state law, so we have it scripted out. This is the introduction to public hearing of City of Newberry fiscal year 2024-25 tentative budget. The City of Newberry Commission hereby convenes the public hearing on the City of Newberry's fiscal year 2024-25 tentative millage and tentative budget as required by Florida statutes, Chapter 129 and 200. If anyone in our audience is here for the purpose of contesting their tax assessment, a petition for adjustment with the Value Adjustment Board should be filed no later than 5 p.m. this Friday, September 13th, 2024. The petition forms are available in the Alachua County Clerk of Court office. This evening, we will take a number of actions related to the tentative adoption of millage and budgets. The final public hearing on these matters will be held on Monday, September 23rd, 2024, at 7 p.m. at this same location, Newberry City Hall Commission Chambers. I encourage you, if you've not already done so, to get a copy of the agenda so you may more easily follow the proceedings this evening. Citizen comments will be taken following the overview of the proposed budget by the city manager and assistant city manager / CFO. The city attorney will now present an overview of the truth in millage legislation, followed by the city manager and assistant city manager / CFO's explanation of the final and rollback millage rates. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor. In 1980, the Florida legislature adopted what is known as the Truth in Millage legislation, or TRIM, as it is called. The goal of the legislation was to ensure that taxpayers were advised of the public hearings at which local taxing authorities' budgets and millage are considered and adopted. Each year, the property appraiser completes an assessment of the value of all property and certifies to each taxing authority the taxable value of the property within its jurisdiction. Each taxing authority then notifies the property appraiser of its proposed millage rate, its rollback rate, and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to consider the proposed millage rate and proposed budget. Once the property appraiser receives the information, he sends a notice by first-class mail to every taxpayer on the assessment roll. The notice contains the information from the taxing authorities as to the proposed millage rate and the time and place of public hearing. The notice sent to the taxpayers is called the TRIM notice. The TRIM notice lists what taxes were for the prior year, what the taxes will be if the proposed budget changes are made, and what taxes will be if no budget changes are made. This information is listed for each taxing authority. The notice also lists all voted levies for debt service. The purpose of the TRIM notice is to provide taxpayers with sufficient basic information to enable them to participate in the public hearing process.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The presentation of the budget for the Commission's consideration is one of my most important duties as your manager. As mandated by Florida law and the city's charter, I am happy to present you with a balanced budget. I am pleased to present the proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year, which reflects our ongoing commitment to responsible financial stewardship while making critical investments in our city's future. This budget prioritizes infrastructure improvements and capital projects that are essential for maintaining and enhancing the quality of life for our residents. We are focused on addressing long-term needs such as road improvements, water and wastewater system upgrades, the completion of key public facilities, including a new City Hall facility, and investments in our recreational opportunities. These investments are not just about building for today, but ensuring that our community remains strong and vibrant for years to come. I'm also proud to report that we have been able to make these significant investments without raising our property tax rate. Our tax rate remains among the lowest in the region, providing excellent value to our residents while supporting the infrastructure and services they rely on. Similarly, our utility rates continue to be competitive and affordable, ensuring that residents and businesses have access to high-quality services at a cost that is manageable for all. The Commission has once again demonstrated that they trust and believe in our staff by providing merit raises and investing in our staff to ensure that they are fairly compensated and equitably for their work. The budget reflects the careful planning and disciplined fiscal management that has become a hallmark of our city. It balances immediate needs with long-term goals, ensuring that we continue to grow responsibly while maintaining our commitment to financial stability. I look forward to working with you to finalize this budget and continue advancing our community's vision. The City Commission and staff have worked hard to reduce the impact on our residents. I am proud to report that this budget is funded at a tentative millage rate of 5.9000 mills. There is no rate increases for fire assessment or any other taxes. With the vision of the commission and the community at the forefront, your staff has spent an enormous amount of time weighing the available funding and the many competing needs for providing services to our community. I wish to thank our department heads, our other charter officers for being so cognizant of the unique challenges that we face and for presenting budgets that reflect the goal of reducing the burden on the city's taxpayers while providing the highest level of service. Dallas Lee, our Assistant City Manager / CFO, will now lead us through a discussion of the millage and the budget.
One of the requirements of truth in millage legislation is to provide information about why tentative millage rates are higher or lower than rollback millage rates. The tentative millage rate for the city of Newberry is 6.0000 mils, which is 11.69% more than the rollback rate of 5.3721 mils. Rollback millage rate is defined as the millage rate which, exclusive of new construction, additions to structure, deletions, and property added to geographic boundary changes, will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue for each taxing authority as was levied during the prior year. The City of Newberry's tentative millage rate is the rate at which the City Commission has, through due study and consideration, determined is needed to fund the municipal operations of the City of Newberry in the best interest in public health and welfare of its citizens. The city's budget is balanced at 5.9000 mils, which represents no change from the previous year. A millage rate of 6.000 would generate an additional $80,000 annually. The trim process requires that a notice of tax increase be advertised when the current year proposed aggregate millage rate exceeds the calculated aggregate rolled back millage rate. The aggregate rolled back millage rate is calculated by dividing the prior year estimated property tax revenue by the current year taxable property value divided by 1,000. The current year taxable value does not include new construction or annex values. For the 2024 tax year, the proposed final millage rate of 6.000 is 11.69% greater than the rollback millage rate of 5.3721. Primary driver behind the lower rollback millage rate is the addition of new homes and businesses on the tax roll. Mr. Mayor, the 2024-2025 tentative budget summary for all funds of the City of Newberry summarizes all revenues and other financing sources available to the city in the amount of $32,116,288 and reserves brought forward in the amount of $14,314,055 for total revenue and other financing sources available to the city in the amount of $46,430,343. And appropriations in the amount of $35,271,274, with ending reserves appropriated in the amount of $11,159,069. For total appropriations of $46,430,343. Additional carry-forward appropriations for unfinished projects and open purchase orders will be included in the final budget to be presented at public hearing on September 23rd. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments on the tentative budgets presented to you this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the budget at this time.
Okay, does the commission have any questions on the budgets? And I think at some point, we need to make a decision on the 5.9 or the 6. If you go with 6 this meeting, you can still reduce it to 5.9 at the second hearing. If you go with 5.9, then it's 5.9 today, it's 5.9 then. We're talking about 80,000. I don't know that it makes a grand bit of difference, Commissioner Martin.
Mr. Mayor, let it be known I'm fine with the 5.9.
Okay. Have other head nods, leave it at the 5. 5.9 is what's here. We don't have to do anything, because in this script, we're kind of going back and forth between 5.9 and 6. What's in the ordinance right now?
I would need a motion to move it to 5.9, and that would be on the next page.
Okay, so we'll take the comments on the next page. We'll do that. All right, citizen comments on fiscal year, anything, I'm sorry, Commission, is that it? Citizen comments on fiscal year 2024-25 proposed millage rates and proposed budget. 5.9, come on down, man.
Hi, my name's Brandy. I had a question because at the last meeting that I thought y'all adopted the 6.0 millage rate so that you could put it on the ballot to increase it. I thought that
No, ma'am.
under that understanding.
No.
Okay, so we're saying 5.9? Good deal. Thank you.
Other citizen comments? Hearing none. Okay. I'll now close the public comment section of this public hearing. And Assistant City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, the document before you included in your agenda packet is the City of Newberry fiscal year 2024-2025 budget summary. Includes all items that were described earlier. Any additional adjustments to the tentative budget and millage should be made by motion at this time.
All right, Commissioner Martin.
So moved to the 5.9.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin at 5.9, a second from Commissioner Coleman at 5.9. Any comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Commissioner Martin?
Mr. Mayor, I'm thinking back to the last meeting. I think some of the confusion from the citizen might have been the fact that we set the max tentative at the 6. And that's where some of the confusions come in. That's all.
Perhaps, yeah. I don't know where the going on a referendum came from, but I think it's at 6, so you always set it high so you can reduce it low because you can't go the other way. All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Coleman. Final comments on the motion on the floor from the commission. Public comments on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously with Commissioner Farnsworth absent. Mr. Assistant Manager.
Florida statutes require that the name of the taxing authority, the millage rate to be levied, the rolled back millage rate, and the percent increase over rolled back rate be publicly announced. Accordingly, the City of Newberry City Commission has determined that a proposed millage rate of 5.9000 mils is necessary to fund the tentative general municipal budget. This is the same property tax as was levied in the prior year. The proposed tentative millage rate represents an increase of 9.84% from the rollback rate of 5.3721 mils.
Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, this is Resolution 2024-39, a resolution determining and adopting the tentative rate of taxation on real and personal property, making the annual levying of ad valorem taxes for the City of Newberry, Florida for the fiscal year 2024-2025, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2024-39 upon its reading by title only, and of course, as we've discussed and just voted on, the assessment rate is 5.9 mils, and I did not catch the percentage rate over the rollback rate. If you would announce that again, Dallas.
9.84%.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have that motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Mazon. Comments, question on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, question on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the next resolution is the budget resolution, now that we've done the millage resolution. And this is resolution number 2024-40, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the city's budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, providing for the tentative appropriation of funds of the City of Newberry for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025, approving a proposed general city budget, setting a public hearing date, providing for publication of notice, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2024-40 upon its reading by title only.
Do you hear that motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Clark. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais?
Final millage rates, final budget for general city purposes will be held on Monday, 23rd of September, 2024, 7 o'clock p.m. at these commission chambers, Newberry City Hall, 25440 West Newberry Road, Newberry, Florida, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Public comment on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah, Commissioner Martin made the motion, Commissioner Clark made the second. All right, Mr. Sisset, City Manager.
Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the next several items relate to your utilities. The City of Newberry establishes utility rates sufficient to generate revenues to meet its operating expenses. Staff evaluates utility rates annually during the budget process and, if warranted, recommends rates be adjusted. Staff utilizes models for developing its utility rates to forecast customers, electric and water consumption, wastewater generation, and the anticipated expenses to determine whether rates will produce revenues which are sufficient to meet the expenses associated with providing utility services to our residents. Many of the city's costs to provide these services are fixed or have increased, such as personnel services, fuel, repairs, insurance, etc. At the City Commission's Utility Budget Workshop, staff presented proposed rates, and the Commission gave consensus to include those rates in the tentative budget. Since that workshop, staff has worked diligently to reduce the proposed rates by 0.5% in each category. Residential electric rates are proposed to be adjusted by 1.5% for an average residential impact of $1.81 per month. Non-residential rates are proposed to be adjusted in a similar fashion. These rate adjustments are required to maintain the financial position of the utility and support funding for future required infrastructure investments. FMPA has projected a lower fuel cost for next fiscal year, which will allow the city to reduce our power cost adjustment to offset this increase. With these rate adjustments, our electric rates will continue to be competitive within our region and in the state. Customers were properly notified in their August bills, and the city will need to file additional reports with the Public Service Commission to inform them of the proposed rate change.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, you're back up again.
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 2024-30, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, pertaining to electric utility services in the City of Newberry to amend and revise Section 98-63, subsections 1, 2, 3, and 8, and Section 98-70, subsections H and I of the City Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry pertaining to the energy charged, providing for codification of same, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-30 upon its reading by title only.
And is this second reading?
This
First reading.
This is the
Okay,
first.
Scrivener's there, first reading. Okay, comment, or motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Clark. Was that a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Maison. Comments, questions, motion on the floor from the dais. Commissioner Martin?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, we've got new folks in the audience, and I just wanted to reiterate the fact that I know the staff and the commission here has done its best to just try to make this a break even, as we have every year. I'm glad we were able to go back and sharpen the pencil a little bit more and get a little bit, get the rate just a little bit lower. So I appreciate everybody's help doing that.
Absolutely. Here, here. Other comments, questions on motion on the floor? Public comments or questions on motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Assistant City Manager.
Wastewater rates are proposed to be adjusted by 9.5% in consumption charges and in the residential customer charge for an average residential impact of $6.80 per month. This rate increase keeps the city's rates at some of the lowest residential rates in the area and lower than the state average for residential units. This rate also works towards the Commission's goal of operating self-sustaining utility enterprises. The primary driver behind these rate increases are additional permit compliance requirements placed on the city by the FDEP, inflationary factors, insurance rates, and continued maintenance increases. Customers were properly notified in their August bills of the proposed rate changes.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, would
Mr.
you like me
Attorney?
to read 2024-31?
please.
This is an ordinance pertaining to wastewater service within the City of Newberry, amending the prior established rates in Section 98-155 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry, amending ordinance number 2023-27, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-31 as read by title only.
Thank you, sir. Do I
Yes,
have
sir.
that motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, beat you by a split second, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any comments or questions on motion on the floor from the dais? Seeing none, public comments or questions on motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, and that takes us back to Dallas.
Mr. Mayor, water rates are proposed to be adjusted by 6% in consumption and customer charge for an average residential impact of $2.07 per month. This rate increase keeps the city's rates at some of the lowest residential rates in our area. These rate increases also work towards the Commission's goal of operating self-sustaining utility enterprises. Customers were properly notified in their August bill of the proposed rate changes.
Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 2024-32, an ordinance pertaining to water service within the City of Newberry, amending the prior established rates and amending sections 98-154 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry, amending ordinance number 2023-28, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-32 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. Do I have that motion?
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Maison, second from Commissioner Clark. Comments, questions on motion on the floor? Public comments or questions on motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Dallas?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we'll be moving into the fire assessment, which I do not have scripted, but I know, sorry. The resolution that we're bringing for you for consideration tonight reimposes the prior established fire assessment rates, so the assessment rates that we imposed in the previous year. So there are no changes for any rate classes except for institutional, which is being lowered a little bit, but all of the rate classes are remaining the same. And there was a negligible impact on the budget, which we were able to absorb.
Thank you so much. Dallas, do we need a motion for that, or is that
You
wrapped
need to
up on
adopt this
next?
resolution.
Okay,
I'll go ahead and read
go
the
ahead and
title.
read it for me,
Mr. Mayor.
please.
This
Thank
is resolution number 2024-35 of the City of Newberry, Florida, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the provision of fire rescue services, facilities, and programs in the City of Newberry, Florida, amending and restating the final assessment resolution, providing authority, definition, and interpretation, imposing fire rescue assessments against assessed property located within the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, approving the rate of assessment, confirming the amended and restated initial assessment resolution, approving the assessment roll, and providing for effect, severability, and effective date. Appropriate motion will be to pass resolution number 2024-35 upon its reading by title only. Dallas, I always read the actual rates, and we've gone through so many iterations of this, make sure I get them correct. I believe it's this one right here, is that right?
Correct.
Yes? Okay. The residential rate per dwelling unit will be $200 per residence. The non-residential property use categories, rate per square foot for commercial is 17 cents, industrial is 3 cents, and institutional is 6 cents. So the appropriate motion, Mr. Mayor, is to pass resolution 2024-35 as read by title only.
And Dallas, that's the right,
35 is correct. There's
is
an
correct
error
now.
on it.
Scrivener's error on the slide, but the ordinance itself is correct. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark,
Second.
second from Commissioner Coleman. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor here? My only I do want to pause here because, we had a new study. That study had one data set that was spiked. And I just appreciate our staff recognizing that, saying, hey, we got to push back. Let's go back to the experts. Let's make sure that one data set isn't throwing everything off. And I appreciate everybody's willingness to let us work through that process so that we know that we're being fair across the board. I have no other comments, public comment or question on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Attorney? Well, actually, I think it's Dallas.
Mr. Mayor, development fees are collected to offset the impact development has on your utility infrastructure. These fees are charged against new construction at the time of permit issuance to offset the cost of new infrastructure needs of our utility. These funds are held in trust funds and can only be used on expansion and enhancement of the utility systems. Water and wastewater fees are collected by equivalent residential unit, or ERU. The City Commission first adopted development fees in 2005 and last increased the fees in 2022. These fees have been critical in funding your utility system. The city's adopted CIP plans for over $100 million in projects in the next several years, which are needed to support the development in the community. In 2023, the City Commission directed staff to hire a rate expert to complete a study on the appropriate rate for development fees. The study was completed and recommended an increase in fees to allow for future funding of infrastructure improvements needed to support development within the city, such as our wastewater treatment plant and our new water tower. These fees have been publicly discussed in 4 meetings and are proposed to be stepped in 50% each year for 2 years until we reach the rates identified in the study. In addition to the increase in fees, we have added clarifying language to address quote-unquote tiny homes and to meet the requirements of statute of this. I can't read anymore. To meet the requirements of the statute, this ordinance will require a supermajority approval of the City Commission.
We believe in you.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Your Honor, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, go ahead and read it in first, then we'll get the motion.
This is first reading of ordinance number 2024-33, an ordinance pertaining to utilities within the City of Newberry, amending Division 2 and Division 3 of the Article 6, Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry pertaining to water system development charges and sewer system development charges, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-33 as read by title only on first reading.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Maison. Comments, questions, motion on the floor? No, my only comment on this one is, this was the 2019, I think, legislation out of Tallahassee that took our wastewater plant from a wastewater plant to an advanced treatment plant and doubled the cost. And so everybody is scrambling now to figure out how to do that. And this is where we are directly because of that legislation. So no other thoughts, comments? We've looked at the numbers, we've had the workshop, we know what we're up against. Commissioner Clark.
Mr. Mayor, just for the builders, which we have people and they're listening, we have discussed that if this goes out for the bid and it don't come back, that we can reduce the cost of these fees.
Right.
Okay.
We don't have to step all the way in.
Right.
We got
We can
plenty of
back
time
up.
to make changes.
Yeah.
But part of the problem is construction costs. Was it $2 million a month? $2.5 million a month up since we first started. So astronomical every time we turn around, right? All right, any other comments? Commissioner Martin?
Mike, can you let us know what sort of measures we've tried to do with the state legislature of trying to push back or getting some continuances on any of this stuff to stem off the expenses that we're facing here due to their infinite wisdom?
For the past 5 years, the number one priority for the city commission has been requesting an appropriation from the state legislature, and we met with some mild successes. Last year, the legislature funded us, but the governor vetoed our funding request. I'd say over the last 5 years, we've probably received $3 to $4 million towards the wastewater plant, but those coming in $500,000 to $2 million increments, and the cost of construction is going up $10 million each year. So we are not, the time process it takes us to go through, we're not keeping up with the appropriations that we've been given. And when you talk to the state legislature, they tell you that we don't have enough discretionary funds to go funding everybody at the levels what you need. So we recently, the whole 5-year time, we've never missed a grant application through a number of funding programs. DEP and the Water Management District have 3 or 4 funding programs that we apply for. One's called Springs. What's the other one? River Grant. And normally our ask is in that $2 to $5 million range, but this last year it's a $49 million ask. And we've shown anybody that'll look, DEP staff, Water Management District staff, we've shown them the math and what the impact will be to our ratepayers if we end up with an $80 million bid and no grant funding opportunities. It will quadruple our monthly bills to do that. I mean, we generally, I've taught you, or I've preached, I've been an advocate for the past, since you've known me, 12 years, that wastewater rates don't pay for new treatment plants. Those are collected through the impact fees, and we're trying to never mix the pots. But the cost of this treatment plant is going to be so expensive that without grants, we're going to be heavily dependent upon rates. Or in reality, if we don't get the grant, we'll probably be back in front of you saying, all right, now it's time to panic. What do you want to do? And I think the staff's answer is rebuild the capacity we need to get to advanced treatment levels, which will be under 30 million, no expanded capacity, which will kill development in Newberry. But I don't think we've got another way around it. If we don't pick up a large portion of the $49 million grant that we have out there, I suspect that it will greatly curtail growth in Newberry and anywhere else in the state. We're experiencing the same thing as the rest of the state. We just happen to be on the leading edge this time. And I suspect everybody's going through similar growing pains. So I think we've applied for every federal grant. I mean, every time we go to Tallahassee and we are talking to staff at the state, they have these great ideas, and they run down a list of grant opportunities that we should pursue. And in the last 4 years, they've not mentioned one grant that we don't already have an application in. They have not given us one original idea about what we could do for funding. And we have known from day one, and y'all have known from day one, we're going to have to raise our wastewater impact fees. Didn't expect it to be the extent that it is right now, but it is a pure math equation. And 5 years ago, we thought that the wastewater plant expansion would cost us about $20 a gallon, and it looks like it's going to be closer to $50 a gallon. In a 5-year period, a 250% increase. I don't know how you plan for that. I don't know how you project that coming. It's just buckle down, buckle your seatbelts, and hang on. It's a wild ride.
Well, and I would also add on to that I don't believe the right hand's talking to the left hand in Tallahassee, because at the beginning of this project, we were going to handle the advanced treatment by putting in a wetlands, and the wetlands was universally accepted. All political parties and persuasions thought that was the way to go. And then they wrote out all of the grant points that you got for putting in a wetlands. And so you could put in a wetlands, but it didn't help you in terms of paying or getting any funding for it. Tallahassee just passed, I forget the name of the legislation, but before a county or municipality can enact a new ordinance that may adversely affect business, they have to run an economic study to make sure that everybody knows what they're getting into. And yet Tallahassee can pass this ordinance that directly, doubles the cost. And we've got conservative estimates that it's $75 a gallon. So we're hoping to get it back to $50 a gallon. So that's kind of the range that we're in. And I think it's important that everybody in the audience understand it. With these development fees, we can hit the advanced treatment level for our existing residents. So that part is covered. The answer is, how do we make our commitments to all the developments that is working to come to Newberry, has entitlements already on the books? That's what the hurdle we're trying to jump now. Did that answer your question?
And one more comment. $14 million in grants we've raised so far.
Other comments, questions from the dais? Okay, public comments or questions on the motion on the floor. Come on down. Seeing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. This concludes the first public hearing of the City of Newberry's fiscal year 2025 budget and millage rates. A final public hearing will be held to consider the millage rates, the final millage rates and final budget for general city purposes on Monday, the 23rd of September, 2024 at 7 o'clock. And that takes us all the way on the agenda through item 8, is that right? 14, I'm sorry, where did I get 8 from? We started on 8. 14. Okay. So now we are at 15, small-scale future land use map amendment from Alachua County Rural Agricultural to City of Newberry. This is a legislative hearing. Mr. Attorney, would you please read on first reading ordinance 2024-22/CPA 24-08 into the record?
Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to the amendment of the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan of 9.85 acres of land under the small-scale development amendment procedures established under 163, Section 1, small-scale amendment provisions of Section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County Rural Agriculture less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to City of Newberry Agriculture less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. The tax parcel number is 0442-000-000, consisting of approximately 9.85 contiguous acres, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-22 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Uman, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioner. I am presenting ordinance 2024-22 for future land use map amendment from county rural agriculture to City of Newberry Agriculture on a 9.85 acres. My name is Uma Sarmishta. I am Department of Community Development. So this is the amendment of future land use map classification on recently annexed parcel. This parcel was annexed into City of Newberry on July 22nd, 2024. It is a like-to-like future land use map amendment. So as a procedure, whenever we do annexation to our city, we do the zoning and land use change. This is a property, the parcel ID is 0442-000-000. Partial is, the petition is by Daniel Shore, agent for Humboldt Allison. It is again like-to-like future land use map amendment. It has went through already a planning and zoning board meeting, and it will go through 2 commission meeting. This is a small-scale transmission, transformation, so it will be transmitted to Department of Commerce after the adoption, and this is a legislative transfer. So staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Plan and Land Use Amendment and recommend approval of Ordinance 2024-22 CPA 2408 on its first reading. If approved today, the petition will be heard again on September 23rd, 2024 for second reading. I'm here for any question.
Commissioner have any questions? Commissioner Martin?
So at the appropriate time.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Martin. Do I hear a second? Second from Commissioner Coleman. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais. Comments, questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. It'll move us on to item 16. Mr. Attorney, would you please read on first reading ordinance 2024-20 CPA 24-07 into the record?
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to the amendment of the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan of 4.76 acres of land under the small-scale development amendment procedures established under the small-scale amendment provisions of Section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County rural agriculture less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to City of Newberry agricultural less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. The tax parcel number is 01925-010-000, consisting of approximately 4.76 contiguous acres, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-20 upon its first reading by title only.
Ms. Uma, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner. This is Uma Sarvishta, Department of Community Development. I'm reading Ordinance 2024-20 for future land use map amendment from County Rural Agriculture to City of Newberry Rural Agriculture on 4.7876 acres. Again, this is like-to-like future land use map amendment. The parcel was annexed into the City of Newberry on July 22nd, 2024. The property and the parcel is located at parcel ID 01925-010-000. The petition is by Jamie Nelson. She's the owner. It has went through the Planning and Zoning Board, and now it is going for the 2 commissioner reading. It is a small scale, and so the transmission to the Department of Commerce will be after the adoption, and it is a legislative, PLUMA is always a legislative. Staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation, and recommend for approval of Ordinance 2024-20 CPA 2407. If approved, it will be heard on September 23rd for the second hearing. I'm here for any question.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions? I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, second from Commissioner Coleman. I thought, we didn't read it already?
Did I read that
I
one?
thought we read it into the record.
Did I? Okay,
Yeah. Okay, don't get me. It's getting late at night.
Sorry,
It's getting late at night.
Sorry.
All right. That was a motion from Commissioner Coleman. It was a second from Commissioner Maison. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor, like future land use. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. That'll take us to item 17. Mr. Attorney, would you please read on first reading ordinance 2024-26/CPA 24-05 into the record?
An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to an amendment of the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan under the expedited amendment procedures established in sections 163.3184, subparagraphs 2 and 3 of the Florida statutes, and in conformance with sections 163.3161 through 163.3215 of the Florida statutes, providing for a change in future land use classification from residential low density to commercial on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. Alachua County tax parcel number is 02268-000-000 on a site consisting of approximately .24 acres, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-26 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. Ms.
sir.
Stacy, take it away.
Good evening again. This is a land use amendment, map amendment for the first reading, 2024-26, CPA 24-05, small scale future land use map amendment from residential low density to commercial on .24 acres. Recommended motion is motion to approve the ordinance 2024-26, CPA 24-05. If approved, the second reading will be held on Monday, September 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Here's the parcel on an aerial. It's 02268000000. This is located off of Newberry Road in the Twin Pears area. That will become important in a minute. Here's the current existing land use on it, and the proposed land use is going from the low-density residential to the commercial. This is one of those initiative areas that we have going forward where the Twin Pears will be coming in near and around, that we are going forward with the rezonings to these parcels that you'll see on item 20. The land use has to change first to commercial before we can change it to the CBD for those initiatives that we have moving forward with Twin Pears. Here it is currently vacant. There was a prior home on it demolished in 2009. And this is again that desired rezoning that I was talking about. It still permits permits for residential of various types. And like I said, that next item will be coming up on item 20 for the rezoning of the property. We looked at some concurrency and impacts to the level of service to be determined by the permit once they come in, wastewater, schools, and parks as well. Staff finds the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and land development regulations. Again, that motion we're recommending is to approve ordinance 2024-26, CPA 24-05 on the first reading. And if it is approved, that second reading will be held here again on September 23rd at 7 p.m.
Okay. Commissioner, have any questions?
Motion.
Taking residential property on Newberry Road to commercial. I got a motion from Commissioner Maison. Do I hear a second? Second from Commissioner Clark. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Commissioner Martin?
Totally incidental, but I noticed the map says Pearl Street versus 255th. Anybody know the history on that? Well, I know that, but.
We will ask the Newberry Historic Association to look into
Mr.
who's
Mayor,
that named
I just
after.
thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Judy, do you know?
the name changing convention to go to the grid that we currently use has only been around since the 70s. So prior to that, I imagine that all of the streets in Newberry and similar towns were regular old names.
Yeah.
Many pearls.
Gave out really good cookies. All right. Public comments, question on the motion on the floor. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be entering a quasi-judicial procedure. As long as nobody new enters the chamber, we'll stay in quasi-judicial for the next 3 or 4 items. This means the commission will stop being a legislative body and will become a judicial board. This means we have to follow certain rules and adhere to a different standard of decision-making. The primary rule must follow concerns testimony and substantial and competent evidence. Standard must be met when the judicial board makes a decision. This standard states the following, and I quote, "All public testimony taken under oath, everyone testifying was subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record." I'm going to ask the attorney at this point to read into the record the ordinance at this time.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for the rezoning of 4.76 acres, more or less, pursuant to an application amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Alachua County Agricultural A zoning district to the City of Newberry Agricultural A zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been recently annexed thereto. Tax parcel number is 01925-010-000, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-21 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
I'm now
sir.
going to ask the clerk if she will swear in the applicant, staff, anyone wishing to participate or requesting to speak. We're going to swear you in collectively. If you're here to speak to any quasi-judicial tonight on the agenda, let's get you sworn in, and that'll just save us a little bit of time. So if you're not sure, if you think you might speak, go ahead and stand up and let's swear you in. It's just for fun.
Starting
Anyone?
on my left, please state your name. Stacy Harris. Do you hereby swear from testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You have to do swear.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we begin, we need to disclose any ex parte communications or disclose whether any member physically inspected the property. Ex parte communications are any conversations or transmission of information that may have bearing or influence on any voting member's decision. Let's go ahead and do ex parte for all four items. Commissioner Coleman, anything you need to disclose? Zero. Commissioner Clark?
None.
Commissioner Martin?
None.
Commissioner Mazon?
No.
I'm a non-voting mayor, but I have nothing to disclose as well. I'm now going to explain the order of the presentation that we will follow for every quasi-judicial item before us tonight. We'll first hear from the staff with an overview, then the applicant has the opportunity to make a presentation with no time limit. Then the staff will give their staff report and recommendation, also with no time limit. I've not been contacted by anybody wishing to claim a third-party intervener status. That's going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak to any of these agenda items have 3 minutes to do so. Then the applicant can cross-examine, staff can cross-examine the decision-maker body. Through the chair may ask questions of the staff, applicant, or the participants. Then we'll hear final arguments from the applicant and the staff related solely to the evidence and testimony presented at the hearing and introduced into the record. The city attorney will then advise decision-making bodies applicable law and the factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. Then we'll deliberate the application. After deliberations, we'll make a motion to approve, deny, or continue. That's the order. Ms. Newman, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Uma Sarmishta, Department of Community Development. I'm reading Ordinance 2024-21 for rezoning of the county agriculture to City of Newberry Agriculture on 4.76 acres. We have just heard the comprehensive plan map amendment for the same case. This is just the same property for rezoning. Again, it is on the recently annexed property. And it is located on the parcel number 01925-010-000. Petition is by Jamie Nelson. She is the owner of the property. This will be a like-to-like rezoning. It has went through one planning and zoning board, and it will go through 2 commission hearing. This one is the first one, rezoning contingent upon the FLUMA adoption. And staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulations, and recommend the City Commissioner to approve Ordinance 2024-21, LDR 2417. If approved, the petition will be heard on September 23, 24 for its second reading. I am here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Uma. Is the applicant present? Wish to make a presentation?
No, there is no.
Okay, so you've given your staff report and recommendation. We'll move to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak to this agenda item, you have 3 minutes to do so. Seeing none, I'm going to move us all the way down, assuming you don't want to cross-examine yourself. Member decision-making body, do you have any questions? Hearing none, Mr. Attorney, would you please advise decision-making bodies applicable all factual findings?
On all of the quasi-judicial matters, it'll be substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll enter into deliberations. If there are none, I'll have a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Clark. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. We are still in quasi. No one new has entered. Ms. Uma, I think you're still up. Mr. Attorney, would you please read into the record on first reading ordinance 2024-23/LDR 24-18?
An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for the rezoning of 9.85 acres more or less pursuant to an application amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Lasher County Agricultural A zoning district to City of Newberry Agricultural A zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been recently annexed thereto. Tax parcel number is 04442-000-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-23 upon its first reading by title only.
Ms. Uma, I'm starting to see why you got a challenge, Coy. You're working hard tonight. Go ahead.
Thank you
Take it
so
away.
much, Mr. Mayor. I'm reading ordinance 2024-23 for rezoning from county agriculture to city agriculture zoning on 9.85 acres. This is again change of the zoning designation on recently annexed parcel. The parcel was annexed on July 22nd, 2024. It is like-to-like rezoning. The parcel number is 0442-000-000. Petition was by Daniel Shore. The procedure is one, planning and zoning, which we heard on 27th August, and then we will have two city commission hearing. This is the first one. Rezoning is contingent upon FLUMA adoption. Staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation and recommend approval of 2024-23 LDR 2418. If approved, it will be heard on September 23rd, 2024 for second reading. I'm here for any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Uma. Is the applicant here? No, okay, so that is going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public here to speak to this agenda item? You have 3 minutes to do so. Seeing none, I'm going to skip all the way down to members of the decision-making body. Do you have any questions? Seeing none, attorney's already given us his advice, so we'll go to deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll have a motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We are still in quasi-judicial. No one new has entered the room. Mr. Attorney, would you please read on first reading ordinance 2024-25/LDR 2411 into the record for us?
An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the rezoning of approximately .24 acres, contiguous acres more or less, pursuant to a petition by the property owner of said acreage, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from residential single-family RSF2 zoning district to the commercial central business district C-CBD zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. The tax parcel number is 02268-000-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-25 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Stacy, go ahead and give us the overview. If the applicant's not present, slide right into that report and recommendation.
Yep, they are not here.
No.
So this is the follow-up rezoning for the parcel that I just spoke with a few minutes ago on the other item. First reading of ordinance 2024-25, LDR 24-11, rezoning from residential single-family RSF2 to commercial central business district CBD, parcel 02268-000-000 on .24 acres. We're recommending the motion to approve ordinance 2024-25, LDR 24-11, and if it is approved, the second reading will be held on Monday, September 23rd at 7 p.m. This is the same parcel on Pearl Street. So it's same location, aerial here. It's Robert F. and Gina M. Phillips trustees. Here's the parcel and the change from the RSF2 to the CBD. You can see this is in our Twin Pairs corridor area. And we have listed here for anyone that's interested, the current RSF2 district permitted principal uses, single-family, public parks, public schools, home occupations, and some uses by special exception, churches, clubs, public parks, daycares. Moving it to CBD, permitted principal uses. Those are convention centers and auditoriums, wholesaling, compound uses, private clubs and lodges, by special exception, open-air restaurant. And the applicant has not prepared, application was not prepared before the presentation. Staff finds the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and land development regulations. And again, the motion we're recommending is for approval on ordinance 2024-25, LDR 24-11. And again, it will be held September 23rd. The second reading will be September 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. if approved.
Thank you, ma'am. That was staff report and recommendation. The applicant's not here. That'll move us to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak to this item? Three minutes to do so. Seeing none, we're going to go down to Member Citizen Barkley. Do you have any questions? I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Mazon. Question or comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We're still in quasi-judicial, but we did have someone new into the chamber, so by law, I need to reread our procedure over again. We are in quasi-judicial procedures, means the commission will stop being a legislative body and will become a judicial board, which means we have to follow certain rules and adhere to a different standard of decision-making. The primary rule must follow because our testimony and the substantial and competent evidence standard must be met when the judicial board makes a decision. This standard states the following, and I quote, all public testimony taken under oath, everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered in evidence. The giving opinion testimony is limited to experts, closing arguments may be limited to the evidence of record. Mr. Attorney, would you please read into the record on first reading, ordinance 2024-24 LDR 2419, please?
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the rezoning of approximately 1.34 contiguous acres, more or less, pursuant to a petition by the property owner of said acreage, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from commercial intensive CI zoning district to the Commercial Central Business District C-CBD zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel number is 01963-001-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is pass ordinance number 2024-24 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would you please swear Clay in?
State your name for the record, please. Do you hereby swear from the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. One more time for ex parte. Commissioner Coleman?
No.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Mazon?
No.
I'm a non-voting mayor. I have nothing on this item either. I will now explain the order of presentation that we're going to follow for this quasi-judicial item before us tonight. We're going to hear the staff overview. Then the applicant has the opportunity to make a presentation with no time limit. Then we'll hear staff report and recommendation also with no time limit. Then we'll go to public comment because I have not been contacted by anybody wishing to claim third-party intervener status. Any members of the public wish to speak to the agenda item will have 3 minutes to do so. Then we'll hear a cross-examination from the applicant, cross-examination from staff, member decision-making bodies through the chair can then ask questions of the staff, applicant, or the participants. Then we'll hear final arguments from all parties. City attorney will advise decision-making bodies with the law and factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. Then we'll deliberate the application. After deliberations, a vote will be taken to approve, condition, continue, or deny. Ms. Stacy, take it away.
All right. Ms. Janine? Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 2024-24 LDR 24-19, rezoning from commercial intensive CI to commercial central business district CBD for the old Barnett Bank property on 1.34 acres. We're recommending approval of ordinance 2024-24, file number LDR 23-19. If approved, second reading will be held again, like I said earlier, on Monday, September 23rd, 7 p.m. This is the parcel location on the aerial map. It is 01963-001-000. And Clay, the EDA consultant, is here this evening, so we can ask him any further questions if necessary. This is the location with the current intensive CI zoning on it, going from the purple, which is the CBD. This is a constrained redevelopment of site with overlay standards applied. It abuts 3 residential properties to the east, as you can see there. The rezoning findings, D, intensification of permissible uses, and flexible development standards for commercial uses adjacent to residential. The current commercial intensive uses, retail, lumber and building supplies, transportation terminal, wholesale and warehousing, vehicle sales and service. CBD uses would be convention center, wholesaling, various residential uses, and retail, office, the hotel, car rental, hospital, churches. And we find this request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulations. And there again is our motion stated for your recommendation.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stacy. I heard the staff's recommendation. Clay, did you have a presentation, or can you at least come and state for the record that you accept that presentation?
Good evening, I'm Clay Swager with EDA Consultants. I apologize for being out of the room.
No
You had
problem.
to repeat yourself. If you have any questions for me tonight, I'd be glad to answer them. This is a request to go from commercial intensive to CBD, so sort of a downzoning, which I think might lend to more compatible redevelopment of the site with the houses nearby. And it allows a little more flexibility to do so. And so that's why we're here tonight.
All
And
right.
if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
That moves us to public comment. Any member of the public wish to speak to this agenda item? You have 3 minutes to do so. Hearing none. Did you hear anything, Clay, you want to cross-examine? Did you hear anything, Ms. Stacy, you want to cross-examine? Either of you like to make a final argument? All right, then we will move to deliberate. Actually, we'll move to questions from the board. No questions? Ms. Stacy, in the presentation, it said that this property will be subject to the urban overlay zoning. Everybody's aware of that. They know that if you build, whatever you build there is going to have a new level, new standard of development, and everybody's comfortable. Okay? Good. Mr. Attorney, would you once again advise decision-making bodies applicable on factual findings?
Substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll enter into deliberations now. If there are no deliberations, I'll have a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Maison, a second from Commissioner Martin. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, and that takes us out of quasi-judicial for the evening. Thank you, Clay. And next is Resolution 2024-15. Mr. Attorney, would you please read that into the record? This is a request for final plat approval for Phase 4A of Avalon Woods mixed use, and I think this is new item 22, because we took 22 out. I said 23, but, all right. Mr. Attorney, would you please read the resolution?
Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving with appropriate conditions and safeguards as the final plat for Avalon Woods Phase 4A. Parcel number is 01874-001-000 is authorized under Section 4.19 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations in a mixed-use MU zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2024-15 as read by title only.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Uma, up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I'm reading Resolution 2024-15, SD 24-8. It's a final plat approval for Avalon Wood Phase 4A. It's requested by J. Brown, agent for owner M3 Newberry LLC. The parcel is 01874-001-000. Petition approval of construction. Sorry, there is a mistake there. It is not approval of construction plan. It is an approval of a final plat of 4A Avalon Wood mixed use. Total number of unit coming in there is 72, and total acreage is 16.46 acre. The applicant is here from J. Brown. Kyle is here, and we have developer from M3. Dave is also here for any question. They don't have any presentation, so should I move forward with my presentation, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
So this is the master plan, and this 4A is located on the north side of the Avalon Wood mixed use. This is the layout of 4A. Staff finds petition consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation and Ordinance 2021-26, which is the ordinance which was approved for Avalon Wood mixed use. Thus, staff recommend approval of Resolution 2024-15 SD 2408. I am here for any question, and we have the applicant and the developer here for any further question.
Okay, does the commission have any questions? Final plat for Avalon Woods? No? Okay, if there are no questions, then I'll have a motion. Was that a question, Commissioner Clark? No? Then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Clark. He had a little silent protest over here. He's been working hard on this second tonight. Okay, comments, question on the motion on the floor from Dice? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We had a conversation at our last workshop about the next item, which is purchasing thresholds. And we think that they're kind of slowing us down a little bit in some aspects of getting some things done. So, Mr. Assistant City Manager / CFO, will you take it away?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor mentioned at our workshop last week, our final budget workshop, we had brought this up. But the commission wanted to make sure that all of the commission, or the majority of the commission, could be present to have this conversation. The city manager's purchasing authority is currently set at $25,000 with some exceptions. His authority, as is common in most governments, also sets your competitive bid threshold, meaning that any purchase over $25,000, we have to produce a formal and competitive sealed bid and receive those bids back in. The Commission last increased the city manager's purchasing threshold in 2018. So if you just do the CPI on it, it brings you up to about $32,000. The issue that we're running into with our current bid thresholds is not only do they take a lot of time on the staff, but many of our vendors are opting not to respond to our bid packages. Bid packages require a lot of work on a vendor to respond to. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of red tape that we are required to put into our bid packages. So it is affecting our ability to get work done. One of the examples I can give you, and I'm sure Mr. Jones can give you tons of examples, but one of them is the commission budgeted in the 2024 budget for us to restripe and resurface some basketball courts. We know that cost is $30,000, but we can't get the work done because none of the vendors are willing to put together a bid package and formally bid on that. If we had a quote threshold that would allow us to do that, we could have already had that work done. So the staff had requested an increase to $50,000. City of Alachua was at $100,000 at the workshop last week. City Commission gave us the nod to move to $100,000, but wanted to have that conversation with the majority of the commission. So as a comparison, City of Alachua currently is under $2,500. There's no quote requirements. $2,500 to $15,000. They require 2 written or oral quotes. $15,000 to $100,000 is 3 written quotes, and then $100,000 plus is a sealed competitive bid, with the city manager's purchasing authority being that same $100,000. The City of Newberry's current policy is 0 to 5,000. There are no quote requirements. 5,000 to 25,000 is 3 written quotes. We do not accept oral quotes. And $25,000 above is a sealed competitive bid. And again, the city manager's purchasing authority is $25,000. We're bringing this to you now. It's part of our budget process. When you guys adopt your final budget, the city manager's purchasing authority is in that document. So we just wanted to have a conversation with the commission, get direction from the commission if you're interested in increasing that authority.
Dallas, I know you answered this question at the workshop, but it reminds, because the spending limit and the purchasing kind of run in tandem for most places. Why is that again?
It really for just the ease of us all understanding that
once you hit this level, there's another set
if it's
of rules.
this, it requires a bid and the manager's threshold, the manager's signature. If it's this, instead of having 2 separate kind of conflicting ladders, as we call them, for approvals.
Yeah. I know that on a $5,000 project, 3 written bids, that's why people are just they're not responding, because, not much, 5,000 just doesn't go as far as it used to 10 years ago. So we've had one preliminary conversation about this. I think we have to address it. The question is, where do we want to go? Modeling after a sister community, it seemed like an easy place to begin the conversation. Doesn't mean that's where we end. Commissioner Clark.
Mr. Mayor, I'm you know, some of the red tape we have, I'm good with upping it. And I did watch your meeting, and some of the dice was up to 100,000, which it's, you know, it's the purview of the manager and the budget. So I think if we get rid of some of the red tape, get some work done.
Okay. Other thoughts from the dice? Okay, Commissioner Martin?
I think as long as we can, for transparency purposes, keep the written quotes together, I don't mind increasing it as well. But if we can, even if it's just an email, I'd like to know, at least initially, some of the things that are hitting that $50,000 to $100,000 mark. It's just personal, but it's up to you whether or not you want to send it to everybody else.
Commissioner Mazon?
What are we gonna up it to?
I mean, the suggestion is to mirror it after Alachua, the city of Alachua. So if you look at the top, and it's, the bidding mirrors the manager purchasing authority. So the manager could go straight to up to $100,000 project and just get it done. And then there's different levels of how much quotes they have to go through.
In Newberry, the commission sets the manager's threshold, and then the manager would set the thresholds underneath him. So the option for the commission tonight would be what you want to set the manager's threshold, and then we would develop corresponding written quotes, you know, underneath that threshold.
And I think, I mean, to transparency, all of this still stays transparent. It is all still in the budget. It is all still a public record, all of those kinds of things. It's about red tape and expediency. If there's something that you guys see that you don't like, you're going to call the city manager into his office and say, what's happening here? All right, so I got Mr. Martin.
And just, you know, I don't want to see the city manager gets stuck being pushed around by vendors or anything like that, knowing that he's got a higher authority that doesn't necessarily have to come through us. So just for staff protection as well.
Okay, so what are you looking for tonight? Dallas, you want
direction
a motion, or you need just direction to bring back a resolution?
It'll be in your final budget resolution. At the next meeting, there is a section that sets this, so I need direction as to what number to
So
include
you got
there.
4 head nods, you got the direction.
$100,000?
Bring it back, and then we'll have a motion and discuss that, what's written in front of us.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to comment, city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Been out of the office a little bit recently, and I appreciate everyone's patience. I'm getting up to speed fast, drinking it from a fire hose, as they say, but staff's really pitched in and made me feel like I was appreciated. So thank everyone for that. We are traveling to Longwood, Florida. That's the home of Waste Pro USA, and they have promised a healthy donation to the Veterans Memorial. So on Thursday, we're going to be driving down and have a little lunch with them and pick up a nice check, actually a nice couple of checks. So with Commissioner Clark. On Thursday, October the 15th at 10 a.m., FMPA is having the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Rice Creek Solar Project. That's one of the solar projects that we're in. So if the commission would like to attend, I'll have Randa give you guys a call.
It's already in your inbox, actually.
We'll make sure the press gets over there. I think Commissioner Mazon went to a similar event for a solar array that we did know, that we weren't participating in, but FMPA was. And so it's pretty impressive to see them up close and personal. If you're interested in traveling down, like I say, just let us know and we'll make it happen, including the part about publicly noticing it if we're going to have more than one. We'll get it publicly noticed so that there's no concerns about sunshine. And Mr. Mayor, this Friday is September the 13th. And in recognition of all the scary things that could happen, we've decided to close City Hall for normal municipal operations this Friday the 13th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank my fellow charter officers. They, particularly Dallas, put together the script that we read from. And the importance of that is that we received from the Department of Revenue, very glowing review on our budget process. And then we also, it affects our audit that we have by our external auditors. So it's something that he's developed over the years. Our clerk makes sure with the procedure that we follow is really, really helpful. She's got everything all lined up in this packet, so even if something new comes in, if you follow the packet, it goes seamlessly. So I just want to thank them both for what they've done over the years and making a very seamless transition, and getting 23 items done in the space of time that we've done is nothing short of remarkable. And I have a lot of experience with other cities, and you get a lot of efficiency done in a very quick time. So staff is really good to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate those compliments. Madam Clerk? Nothing? Okay. Before I go to the commission, I just want to remind everybody of the comments that were made at the beginning. Everyone is going to listen to your comments. No one is going to shout over you as you make your comments. If you have comments that are expressing anything in frustration, you'll look at me when you give those comments. When we go to the public comments, the commission is going to listen to the public. We're going to act with decorum and kindness and respect with one another, and nobody's going to shout over the public. And so with that, Commissioner Coleman, do you have any comments? All right, Commissioner Clark.
I just want to say God bless our troops that are deployed. There's a lot going on around the world in Israel, and God bless our country.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Commissioner Martin.
I believe Main Street has the Fabulous 50s event on September 21st, but I don't know what time it starts.
10 o'clock in the morning?
10 a.m.
About 10 a.m.? Okay, all right, fantastic. And I know this Wednesday at Destiny Community Church, there'll be a public presentation available and open to the public if you have any questions about the abortion amendment, Amendment 4, constitutional amendment on the ballot in November. That'll be at 7 o'clock. That's good.
Thank you. Commissioner Mazon?
Yeah, so I have down here for the Fabulous 50s festivals from 4 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah, you stole my thunder, but it's all right. From 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's what I have. Yeah.
4 p.m.?
4 p.m. Fabulous 50 Festival. September 21st, correct?
It is the 21st. I can double check on time.
Yeah, from 4, I have on the flyer here from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
I think yesterday it started in the morning, but
Maybe it's me that starts at 10 a.m.
No, you're right.
Here was mommy in the 50s.
And then over at the MLK Center, they have actually started back up my time. So it's Monday through Thursday from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And they also have an open computer lab from 1:30 to 3 p.m. as well, Monday through Thursday. And they have open slots on from Saturday to Sunday. And they also have a book club that they have once a month. And they also have, you can check Facebook for special events, just MLK. Now, so for my my little add-on is, I'm going to give you guys, can you guys guess some foods that are banned in other countries, but we sell it in the USA, that is bad for us?
red meat.
Because of yellow dye, red dye, and because of what it could cause to memory loss with kids, et cetera, et cetera. Jello. That is one. Ritz crackers is another. Anybody eat ice cream?
Don't ruin ice cream for me.
I'm going to ruin it all
Don't ruin
for
ice
you.
cream for me.
I've been on my little cardboard. Drumstick, the ice cream. Actually, I'm sorry. Uma, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Uma.
All right, cut his mic off
No.
at this point.
Leave my mic on. I got a couple more for you. Old man syndrome right here. You writing this down, Mike? This is a big one. Everybody should know this one. Mountain Dew.
Wow.
That's a bad one. I mean, and all your energy drinks.
Mr. Rockstar.
Rockstar. Now, I'm not a rock. No, I don't drink Rockstar.
No, that's an energy drink, Rockstar.
You used to have one.
How long ago was that?
That's what I'm asking.
That's why he's lost all that weight. He stopped drinking the Rockstar.
You ready for this? This one's going to kill half the crowd, Little Debbie.
No.
Little Debbie.
Swiss rolls?
Swiss rolls, yes. Absolutely, yes.
We all have no reason to.
Hey, your breakfast cereal, those boxes, give them up Frosted Flakes, all that stuff. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop. Okay, I'm going to leave it with a joke. Okay, why did the Scarecrow get an award? Because he was outstanding in his field.
You couldn't even finish before you started.
Yeah. Oh, good job, Ken. And I got to go after him every night, right? I got just a couple. I did want to add my gratitude to our staff, Dallas, your team, but everybody for the budget. If you've been paying attention to Newberry for the past few years, we get award after award after award for transparency and accounting. We go up little bits here and there on categories every year. Our neighbors go up by great leaps and strides, right? So, and that's, I mean, you guys set the tone, but you guys hear it and you make it happen. And we'd always rather have to go up 2% here, 1% there, than have to hit people with 20%, 30%, which is what we see going on around the state. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the work that you guys do into winning those awards and making Newberry look good, and for the level of professionalism that you guys bring. I did want to announce that we've got homecoming coming up for the high school, and that means that we have a parade October the 4th. So I'm going to announce that from this point right on. If you're in the parade lineup starts at 2 o'clock. We ask you to turn headed south down 260th Street, like you're going to the cemetery, then pull off to the right-hand side to decorate your float and all that kind of stuff. That keeps the left-hand side open. An ambulance could get in and out of there if we needed to. Keeps it nice and calm so the kids can decorate without being in danger, all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, we invite everybody to the football game that night. And, of course, the football game is important, but the real event is crowning the homecoming queen during halftime. So that's where we get the big Main Street not only is doing the 50s, but they also are now taking orders for the Scarecrow Row. So if you've got a business or a club in town and you want to decorate one of the light poles, Main Street's advertising that. It's a lot of fun, and we've got a lot of had a lot of fun with that in the past couple of years, and a lot of compliments on it from our neighboring communities. My last comment tonight is really about how we speak to each other and how we treat each other. I know that we have folks in town that are upset, and I understand that emotion, and you're perfectly validated to feel that way. But sometimes we hear things being said out loud, or we see them on social media. And I know that the intent is to criticize me or to criticize a commissioner. But when things are said about laundering money or paying people off, that criticism really goes to our management team. And what you're basically saying is that these guys would be complicit in an illegal activity. And I think that's not fair. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to their licenses. It's not fair to their profession. It's not fair to their families to subject them to that. And I know that they're not the intent, but they would have to be in on it in order for some of the things that people are accusing to happen, right? And so I just ask everybody, use compassion, think before you speak. And if you want to criticize an elected official, that's fine. But let's try to find something we can criticize that doesn't actually cast aspersion on a lot of people that are just trying to work hard for our community and are giving back to the public. So that's my final comment. Now we'll open up the floor for public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak to the commission, you have 5 minutes to do so. There we go. Come on down, sir.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Travis Adair. I've got some notes. I'd like to start with some fact checks. First, and it's a shame he's not here, so if you guys can convey this to Commissioner Farnsworth. Trivia question. Last commission meeting was which Florida governor went on to become president? Unfortunately, the answer to that is none of them. Andrew Jackson was not a governor. He was promoted commission. When Florida was a Spanish territory, we were trying to take it over. Very specifically said he'd do it if he could leave before the government got set up because he didn't want to be governor.
That's why I got that wrong.
You owe him at least $250 of that gift card back. Speaking of you, Mr. Mayor, let's go into some other fact checks here. Last meeting during, which was August 26th, you said that public records requests cost a lot of money and staff time and generally end up being frivolous to be that, right? No, not right. That's a direct quote, by the way. That not right was me. Fulfilling public records requests is a basic function of a government entity. Members of your staff are hired to fulfill these basic duties, and when a request is received that is more labor-intensive than usual, payment is demanded from the government by the requester to pay for that labor and time. I know this because some of my requests have required payment, and people have paid thousands of dollars for the requests over the last 7 months to the city. Further, the only argument you could say that you could make that the city paying someone to fulfill a records request is frivolous is if you argue that the government's salary that you budgeted for is frivolous. I personally don't find that to be a strong argument. I think the clerks and everybody that works at City Hall have been fantastic and professional to work with. I don't find their salary to be frivolous or unnecessary, but you can make a strong argument this commission's salary provides way less in return for investment on our tax dollars. Moving on from those facts, I want to get into my opinions. I believe our elected officials should be held at a higher standard of conduct and propriety. I will assume that you, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the commission probably just don't agree with that. Based on all of your behavior exhibited at the last commission meeting. First, Commissioner Martin said he was excited for a new elected official on the Alachua County School Board because he believes that the school board will be worse. I personally find the prospect of rooting for children's educations to suffer from my own political agenda to be morally bankrupt. I also find it deeply inappropriate to use your time at the dais to insult a constituent by name using misogynist language. You said that a citizen of the city didn't have the stones to come here and ask her questions. I'm not sure why the commissioner seems so concerned with the anatomy that is in other people's pants, but I recommend you get it under control in public at least. I understand that you'll say it's not about that. You meant that she's brave enough. I would respond to saying that it clearly requires zero courage of conviction to attend these meetings regardless of which side of this microphone you sit on, based on the actions of the 6 men in front of me. 5. I don't believe Commissioner Mazon showed any strength of character when immediately after Mr. Martin's comments, he said that was good. And finally, Commissioner Clark's now widely viewed display really needs no recap other than to possibly educate anyone on the white supremacist dog whistle he referred to himself as. He's called himself the Blue-Eyed Devil. I have more, but whatever. I don't think any of you guys are going to listen. Anyway.
Actually, I think we put 3 minutes in public comment at the end is 5. So Mr. Adair has 2 minutes.
My time then. Let's get into the Blue-Eyed Devil. Was an original a racial epithet used in Asia to refer to Europeans going back a pretty long time. But more recently, in the late 90s, early 2000s, a white supremacist band called Blue-Eyed Devils rose in popularity, and the band's logo became a generic white supremacist symbol. Using that kind of language while threatening a woman who did have the stones to show up here and participate in civic engagement is about as low as you can go. It is a disgusting display of abuse of the power of your position. I could possibly forgive the commissioner for speaking in a moment of passion and a way he didn't mean to, had he bothered to apologize afterwards. To date, he has not. One must conclude that either he thinks he did no wrong or has no fear of repercussions for his actions, which brings me to one last little bit of a fact check. Commissioner Martin did say in the last commission meeting that every April the people get to make their voices heard by voting, that anyone can run against them and go get them out of their seats. For once, you got something right. The people can do that, and I suspect you should enjoy those seats for the next few months while you still have them. The people of this town are sick of gross mismanagement of the city and taxpayer dollars, and I suspect will support someone who remembers this commission is supposed to work for the people, not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other public comment? Seeing none, come on down.
Hi, my name's Little Lady. My name's Brandy, and I'd like you to use it from now on. You know it. I've stood at this pulpit for the last 6-7 months. You know my name. I'd like you to use it the next time you verbally abuse me and try to play victim as if somebody accosted your child. As for you, Mayor Marlowe, you are bound by your job title to keep decorum in City Hall, which you failed to do when you refused to shut off Mark Clark's microphone and told me to be quiet when he intimidated and threatened me. I don't know when you lost your way, but somewhere along the lines you did, and I don't think you can ever make up for what the divide you caused in this town. This isn't as simple as a charter anymore. This goes to the very core of what makes a great democracy, and you have made such a mockery out of it, I'm sorry, I'm nervous, out of it that is unrecognizable in Newberry anymore. Also, You mentioned forgiving Joel because it's in your heart for forgiveness. I don't know about anybody else, but I could never forgive a pedophile. I could probably forgive a murderer, but never a pedophile. And for Mark Clark, your code of ethics as a Marine officer shall strive to elevate, maintain, and contribute to the honor and dignity of the profession. Section 2, he shall conduct himself with the traditional decorum of an officer and a gentleman, restraining himself from all acts contrary to the established rules of majority and personal discipline. And I really like to think every man in this room should have stood up for me that day. When a man threatened me, he should have cut off his microphone. Anybody could have stood up and been a man and been like, hey, don't say that, her. Don't point that out. But you told me to be quiet when he verbally abused me. And I don't think that's okay, and we'll see you in April.
Other public comment? Hearing none? Oh, come on down, ma'am.
Okay, so it's my second time to speak. My name is Susan Belts, and last time I wasn't very prepared, so I have a few thoughts. If I can open my pad. Okay, so good evening, commissioners. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. This is, again, my second meeting, so I'm a little nervous about this, and I thought I'd prepare again. I wanted to say thank you again to each of you for your service. While I am aware of the charter issue, I have no children enrolled in primary education at this time, but I did. I only followed the discussion as outlined in local newspapers and social media. However, as a citizen of Newberry and having attended Newberry Elementary and Newberry High School many years ago, I'm interested in this discussion. As a mother, I value the opinion of the parents and teachers who have had the opportunity to vote on this issue. I think parents and teachers of each respective school have weighed in on this issue, and the will of those individuals should be respected. I understand that the middle school and high school will continue business as usual. However, the elementary school is elected to go the charter school route. As such, once this charter is approved by the state of Florida, I think that's where we're at right now, the City of Newberry Commission and staff had the enormous responsibility to carry out this mandate outlined in the charter. The Commission and staff will be charged with placing professional administrators in place to support and develop a plan to implement this charter. Some have questioned the character or motivation of the Commission involved here. I have only recently met a few of the commissioners and staff, but I've found everyone I've interacted with to be professional and engaged, and most importantly, all seem to have the best interests of this community at heart, and I think that's where you should always start. I have personally known Commissioner Mark Clark and his wife Denise since our high school days. Mark has heroically served this country. He loves his hometown, and he has served it with true engagement and commitment, and thank you for that. The past few meetings have illustrated for me that this is a job that's not for the faint of heart or the thin-skinned, and I think we need more individuals like Commissioner Clark to serve this community. I also want to acknowledge the hard work of Mayor Marlowe. I have watched his willingness to respond to all the questions presented by those for and against this issue, and I value that as a citizen.
Thank you.
He has done so with careful consideration, and he's articulated very thoughtful responses. I have no doubt that the charter school issue has been a very difficult challenge for everyone. As a teacher at Newberry High School and a parent of school-aged children, I don't think anyone should question your genuine care and concern for all the students in this community.
Thank you.
My sons were both lucky enough to have Mr. Marlowe as their AP Euro teacher, and they still say you were their favorite Newberry teacher. So if this charter is approved at the state level, I think it's incumbent upon everyone on both sides to come together and support this effort and to do what is best for the students and the teachers of Newberry Elementary. There's enough division in this world, and the collective we should do all we can to take the high road and be a positive example for our community and the students. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Other public comment? Come on down.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mayor Marlowe. I am Dr. Annie Moscato, leadership educator and organizational leadership consultant. After the last meeting, and in particular after the additional charges posted against Joel Searby this last Friday, I felt I had a responsibility to come and speak to the Commission, and beyond that, to all the people and the citizens of Newberry who are watching, and based on the views on the last meeting's YouTube video, I would assume people are watching, about leadership. I'm sure as people who have chosen to seek leadership positions and servant leadership positions, I don't need to remind all of you of the responsibility that you took on when you accepted and decided to run for public office, something that I very much appreciate. But I do want to remind you that leadership is meant to be a process, and leaders are not leaders without followers. So my own leadership education comes, of course, from formal education, from studying leadership, working with executives. But where I've learned the most about leadership is from a career working in the Florida agricultural industry. And from growing up in the Florida 4-H program, where I did both livestock projects and shooting sports, places where leadership is vastly important, and served as a 4-H state council officer. So in case you're not familiar, 4-H has the motto to make the best better. So we're taught that leaders should leave things better than they found it. And that's as valuable a lesson as you will learn in any class you will ever take in school. But here's the thing. So leadership is a process, because we should be continuously learning and growing and changing as we learn more. In this way, I actually appreciate the example that could be viewed by Mayor Marlowe changing your political affiliation from Tea Party to Libertarian to Forward Party. I appreciate immensely when leaders can see how their beliefs might have been misguided or they change as they learn new information. I think that's a positive in our leaders. So William James says that the struggle between right and wrong is a matter of helping our best selves to act, and that is the function of leaders and leadership. And so when we know better, we do better. So one of my favorite questions to ask my undergrad leadership students is, do you believe Hitler was a good leader? Which is obviously a loaded question. They very often say he was a terrible man, obviously, but he accomplished all his goals. So he was a good leader. So I pose a hypothetical follow-up to them. So if you go to a dentist who's known to be a great dentist, they're award-winning dentists, they're the best at these certain surgeries that a dentist has to do, and then you find out that under anesthesia, when he's working on men, he's unzipping their pants and making bad choices, would you still say he's a great dentist? They overwhelmingly say no. And we shouldn't be treating leadership any different. Hitler being a terrible person means he was a terrible leader. You don't get to be a terrible person and a good leader. And it also means that everything the dentist told you should be questioned. It should be questioned. You should get a second opinion and a third opinion for everything you were told when he said, trust me, here's my qualifications, I'm a great dentist. If you find out that that dentist had other motives. That is your responsibility as leaders. Leaders are called to analyze complex problems, but they also have to have a grasp of the needs and moods of their followers. So Woodrow Wilson said, the ear of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. People are watching and people are speaking, and that's a good thing. In an elected position, you want a civically engaged public. But it's your job to represent all of your constituents, and your ability to hear them and change your opinions based on new information that you have now, based on new information that might come to light, will be what determines your legacy as leaders. Because without those followers, you don't get to have these seats. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Other public comment? Hearing none. Come on down, sir.
And I'm supposed to say it to the mayor, right?
Yeah.
No, like I said, we've had some stuff come up. And
Can you give your name just for a record?
Trip Norfleet.
Thank you, sir.
We've had some stuff come up about one of the commissioners and stuff, and to speak on that, to let him know that, I hadn't known him very long, but I met him at Newberry High School, and we went and did it, and he was the type guy there that would, kind of stand up what he believed in, stand up for people. If you pushed him in a corner, he'd fight, and then I knew him all the way through high school, and then, like I said, so it's no surprise to me when he joined the Marines right out of high school. He was over in Desert Storm. I think 10 or 15 years later, he was back in Fallujah. The devil dog, I think he left out the dog, is what they call Marines. It ain't no white supremacy. And then,
No, ma'am.
But
we're listening.
And he's lived all over the country, lived in Hawaii, did really well. And he came back to Newberry 10 or 15 years ago. He wanted to make a difference, come back to his hometown. And, he didn't need the money or the notoriety. He started Clark Plantation, started a business. It was a real asset for Newberry. Did a lot of functions for the city of Newberry and everything. And then he wanted to be a commissioner, and he wanted to come back and serve, which didn't surprise many. He'd served his nation all his life. And then he comes back and he wants to serve for the commission, and as all y'all well know, it's not a real thankful job, and it's not a real prosperous job. And do I think he's a leader? Yeah, I think he is. And do I think he'd be a man that we would need as commissioner? I think that's exactly the type of person. I mean, the background that he's had to do it. Does that mean he's perfect every time? No. And the only perfect person I know, we killed him. And but like you said, I'm for the charter school. I think it's a great thing. I think if Newberry, the city of Newberry, falls over the stick, they made it better than Alachua County. I mean, I don't really see how they can mess it up. And but to say that, most of the people I talk to in Newberry are for it, are for the charter school, and it doesn't matter which side's it on. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me. But I just think our Newberry kids could be managed by the people in Newberry. But anyway, like I said, I've known Mark a long time. I think he's a great guy. I think he's good for Newberry, and I hope he stays on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other public comment. Come on down, man. Thank you for being right up there. Everybody's been in a dramatic pause as I just about to gavel out. Come on down.
Hi, Dr. Peggy Vermont. Wanted to say that, and correct the record, first of all, that based on the original vote that the charter has not passed, and that whatever may go forward, whether you submit your application or not, nothing has been decided to this point. Nothing has been brought to Alachua County Schools regarding the charter passing or any moving forward with Newberry Elementary. And we've been told in meetings over in Alachua at the school board that there will be litigation. It seems kind of odd to me that we think that a ordinance or law or rule can be retroactivated, and I think that's the kind of premise that you're going on. So I just wanted to make your constituents clear that nothing has passed and nothing has changed for Newberry Elementary. Secondly, I just, out of just sheer wanting to know how you, Mr. Mayor, could have such, it seems, disdain for Alachua County Schools and the process and the people, and how you've continued to work there, because obviously you are probably a gifted teacher and your students enjoy your class, and you could take your skills probably to any small town surrounding Newberry. So I've just always kind of questioned how someone who talks so negatively about their current employer, why they would want to stay in that position when, like I said, you could go to Gilchrist County, you could go to Union County, you could go to any smaller county where you could have a similar job and, affect the children still in a positive way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Other public comment. Come on down, ma'am.
I just want to lighten the mood for a second. Say there is a giant cockroach up above that TV, and we've been sitting there in horror all night.
We got out of the office earlier.
Yeah, he's watching
20
us.
inches of rain from Debbie. They're growing big these days.
She's not talking about you. It's above the TV. I'm not talking about anybody. So my name is Holly Adair, and as a constituent who is a little lady, I feel obligated to comment on the behavior displayed by the city commissioners and the mayor at the meeting on August 26, 2024. Mr. Clark's verbal assault on constituent Brandy Oldman was abhorrent and displayed a disgusting level of misogyny and the use of a racial epithet. I find that appalling that no one on the commission stopped this verbal tirade and that the mayor, rather than restoring order, allowed this behavior to continue. The City Commission's recent behavior towards women is offensive. Not only did Mr. Clark refer to Ms. Oldman, a grown woman and mother of 4, as a little lady, but Mr. Martin invited an unqualified pro-life speaker to promote his own political agenda to undermine support for Amendment 4 and remove women's access to health care. Sorry, just a little nervous.
Doing fine.
Thank you. Not only is influencing an upcoming vote for personal gain unethical, it is disheartening that Mr. Martin lacks sufficient judgment to think that someone who believes a tattoo artist can perform an abortion is someone qualified to speak about women's health care. Also, inviting a speaker who shared inaccurate information for only one side of a ballot issue goes against local laws for discussing ballot measures. As a constituent, the City Commission and the mayor are supposed to work for all constituents, all of us, no matter what we believe. And lately, all I see is that you are working for your own political gain. I do recognize that you did restate the rules of decorum, so I appreciate you doing that. But I want to reiterate that you should please do better and listen to and respect your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Was that a hand? No? Okay. Only thing, I just want to correct one record. Someone said that I forgave Mr. Searby. I think my comment was that my faith system calls me to forgive, but I'm too angry to do that right now. I think that's what I was talking about. I'd also reiterate that in my mind, that incident shows you a very stark contrast between what happens in our community when somebody crosses the line and does such an abhorrent thing and what's happened in the larger district. So I know that we've all followed the headlines about Santa Fe and the bus driver and all kinds of things. I believe that each of us are individually responsible for our actions, and I don't blame the school board for hiring those people. Like, I don't blame the school board for the 3 people that they brought into Oakview as teachers that have ended up. I understand that sometimes they're in our midst and they fly under the radar, and when we catch them and it happens, we've got to sever ties immediately, and I think that's exactly what you saw out of the leadership in this community. So I think that incident, as awful as it was, shows you exactly the difference in the leadership style. And I did have one email from a resident who asked about last meeting. And when I responded to that meeting, I asked her if she watched the whole meeting, all of the incident, all the way through the public comment at the end, or if she just watched what was clearly a chopped up video, and I didn't watch the video on CBS or something, and she didn't respond. I think that if the folks who are here, who kind of watched the whole thing, I think they have a very different perception of those events than the folks who watched the chopped up video, which is one of the problems in our day of, I can chop you up your videos and make you sound any way I want you to sound at the end of the day. So just wanted to say that. With that being called, we are adjourned.